We put together a model of a typical family in Springs, and we put them at like $120,000 a year, Mom and Dad, which sounds like a pretty decent...
It sounds like a lot of money.
A lot of money, but when you add up the rent...
Of what it costs to live here.
Yeah, absolutely, everything. They came up about $800 short a month. Mm-hmm. And it's not that the Springs Food Pantry is going to take that away and absolve that, but we can help bridge the gap.
Yeah. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Amber Waves Farmcast. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Katie Baldwin.
And we are sitting here at Amber Waves Farm, which is a mixed vegetable and grain and flower farm on the east end of Long Island.
And we're so grateful to have Jess, Tonn and Holly Reichart Wheaton here with us. Holly is the director and chairperson at the Springs Food Pantry, which is our primary food pantry partner at the farm. And Jess, Farmer Jess, is here. Jess manages our greens program. Jess manages volunteers. Jess is here representing the farm field personified of what it takes to grow food, and then talk us through what it looks like to plan, plant, harvest, and coordinate with Holly's team to get fresh produce to food pantries. So the year started for us, we had for the first time a federal grant to provide food in the form of produce and value-added soup to a food bank on Long Island. And that grant was cut in January along with all the big federal grant cuts that were made. And so that was the kind of canary signal to us, like, uh-oh, what is going to happen this year? We had the opportunity to kind of adjust crop plans and make some moves in January. But I think what I want to talk with you all about today, what Amanda just said was top of mind right now, is the federal government is shut down. And as it relates to the USDA and the programs that they govern, one of the ones that is most important to you in your work and in our community of people in need of SNAP benefits, supplemental nutrition assistance program benefits. 1 in 10 Americans get assistance this way. And in our immediate community, which is what we're going to talk about today, there's often a hidden need in this community on the East End in the Hamptons. So let's talk about what is the real need. What is Amber Waves doing in partnership with you, Holly, at the Springs Food Pantry? What are we doing that we're punching above our weight in these ways of growing food and providing fresh produce? And then what can we collective as a community do? And Holly, what do you need to provide assistance? So super high level, Holly, can you start with, you do really important, awesome work. How did you arrive at the Springs Food Pantry, and what's your story?
Well, I basically inherited it. My mom was one of the founders of the Springs Food Pantry. Back in 1992, she and a group of women were sitting around in church one day and looked around the congregation and saw that there were some fishermen and farmers that were in trouble. So they literally opened their cupboards and started handing out food. And it took off from there. It grew slow, initially, and then the numbers started to increase. I was in Chicago at that time, and I returned in 1997, and my mom happened to say to me that they had just placed an order. They couldn't go to door anymore and collect food, and she honestly didn't know how they were going to pay for it. So I sat down and wrote the first fundraising letter, and I've been there ever since. So that's how I came to be at the Springs Food Pantry.
And I think that's so interesting that the food pantry, the impetus for the food pantry was to help support people who were growing and fishing food.
Correct.
So we can circle back to the challenges that farmers and fishermen face every single day. It's a different population that you're serving now, primarily, maybe in addition to. Okay, that is an amazing story. I love that there's some heritage through your family. Jess, let's talk about, some people are always like, wait a second, how did you become a farmer? So can you tell us, how did you become a farmer, and how did you come to Amber Waves?
That is a great question and kind of a long story, but I will give you the brief version, which is that I grew up in Kansas. I come from a really long line of farmers in my family, and that line stopped with my parents' generation. Both of my parents grew up on farms, but did not want to pursue that. But my earliest memories are all of being on my grandparents' farms as a kid, riding on their tractors, bringing lunch to my grandpa on the combine, like that sort of thing. So it was always in the back of my mind as like the kind of work I wanted to be doing, but felt that it wasn't for me because that's not what my parents had chosen. Mm-hmm. So after years of doing office jobs, doing computer work and sitting at a computer, I was doing communications primarily and writing about really cool things other people were doing. I just one day said, I want to be doing the cool things. I don't want to be writing about them anymore. Yes. And I saw a job posting for a farm that I was familiar with, and I said, I think this is the cool thing I want to be doing. And my first day of work there, it clicked. I just felt like this kind of work makes sense to me.
And what farm was that?
That was Share the Harvest Farm, which is in East Hampton. It's a nonprofit farm whose mission is to grow food for the food pantries. So I've been working with Holly since my first days as a little baby farmer, and have seen all the changes that have happened at the Springs Food Pantry since 2017 when I met you. Right. It's a much different place there than it is now.
In what ways is it different?
So I remember like the first winter that we worked with you and talking to you about like your numbers were going to go up over the winter and it was going to be like 150 families, and we were like, oh my God, I can't believe it. That's so many. How are we going to help? And now, I mean, if you have 150 bee bags that you pack every week, which is like the mid-sized family. So you're now packing like
even higher,
350 bags a week. So that's just the change that we've seen in the past 8 years or so.
So, and Jess, when Katie was introducing you, she talked a little bit about what your oversight responsibilities are here at Amber Waves. And actually, I remember hiring you. You were departing from Share the Harvest, and we had an interview on the phone, and you made me promise you that I wouldn't stick you behind a computer screen. That this wasn't like that the job that you were going to get here wasn't like a front for a computer work job, and that I.
You have fulfilled that promise. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And so,
even though every day I want to pull Jess into cost analysis and P&Ls,
Jess is good
that's for deep winter work.
It's good at a variety of things. Yeah, we love those winter deep dive projects. But will you tell us just a little bit about your responsibilities here at Amber Waves and the areas of the farm that you oversee?
Sure. So I oversee the fields that are right behind the market. So we call them our 375 field and our cousins field. It's mostly vegetable production, but our flower fields are here as well, and those are managed by another group of folks.
And just for context, we have many fields.
We have many fields.
Just like the many farms that are out here on the East End because of suburban development and golf courses, etc. We're pretty segmented, so we have a variety of fields. But your home base is
the one that people think of when they think of Amber Waves,
right? Not knowing that we have 20 acres elsewhere.
Yes, yeah. So that makes my morning commute quite easy. After our morning meeting, I usually just walk right out to my office. So I oversee all of the vegetable production here, which includes all of our baby greens production, which was a focus of a podcast episode a few months ago. And then I also oversee all of our farm to food pantry programs. So every week I am taking inventory of what we have, what we expect to be coming out of the fields, who needs what in terms of our own markets, CSA, wholesale, kitchen, and then what we have that we can send to folks like Holly. Because we do work with 4 different food pantries every week, or depending on when they're open. We have 4 main partners. Some of them are not open every week, but we're trying to send them stuff every time that they're open. So doing all that inventory every week.
And when you say inventory,
Usually happens on a computer, but I'm okay with it.
well, and when you say inventory, you're talking about what we have in the coolers, but you're also talking about walking through the fields and seeing like what we have available out there to harvest, because we're harvesting fresh to order for our own retail market, for our own CSA, but then also for pantries.
So our wash station manager, Kyle, every day is doing an inventory of all of our coolers and posting it to Slack, so we all know exactly how many deep green bins of everything that we have. And then throughout the week, I am also literally walking up and down the rows sometimes to count how many heads of lettuce or how many feet of baby greens we might have, so that I know, well, okay, on Monday we would be able to harvest 60 pounds of this that we could send someplace, because it won't be needed for this other thing or that other thing. So.
This is the start of it, right? This is where food starts. But I think just to back up high level, farm to food pantry program, that concept, so you've shed some light on what it takes, the seeding, the planting, the harvesting, the inventory, the calculations. But the real magic happens between the two of you. You've been working together for 8 years, some of those that share the harvest before you were at Amber Waves. But your communication and your relationship that you have built together is the farm to food pantry program between Amber Waves and Springs. And it takes people to make this happen. Like, this is where the magic is. So can you talk a little bit about your personal relationship and maybe how, for other farmers that are listening that are thinking like, oh gosh, I have some extras or I have something, how do I get a program of my own started? How can I reach out to my local food pantry? Or what does it take to make a program like this happen?
Well, I would say the first thing would be to reach out to the local food pantry, find out how many families they are serving, and how they are serving them. So are they operating a market style pantry where people can just go in and take what they need, or are they packing individual bags like Holly's doing? Are they packing different size bags based on the size of the family, which is another thing Holly is doing. Each one of the pantries that we work with operates a little bit differently, which means that we have to send things to them a little bit differently. One pantry just packs all bags the same size, everybody just drives up, they literally put it in your car and you go. Other pantries, people walk in, they are able to shop around, so we maybe don't need to send as much of certain things that we know are not going to be as popular. For Holly, if I know she's packing a certain number of bags for families that are over 7 people, we can send like a smaller amount of that thing, knowing that it's just going to go to that family. So really staying on top of and how it changes every week or month to month, the numbers of the families and how they are helping them is the most important thing.
Right. And Holly, to that point, I mean, this is you. Can you talk a little bit about how you've arrived at your most effective model? I mean, you really are serving with care and nuance. This isn't just a free-for-all. It is thoughtful. You have a team of volunteers, a board, a staff, and you are working in a really efficient way.
Well, we run the Springs Food Pantry like a business. I mean, that's what we decided that we had to do as we were growing. COVID hit us and things had to change. I mean, it wasn't the 55 families anymore. Mm-hmm. So we really ran it like a business. And then we were trying to figure out, okay, but the family sizes are different, So I came up with, let's have an A family, which is families of 1 to 3, and then a B family, which is 4 to 6, and then we have C families, which are 7+. And that's what Jess alluded to, that right now we have 36 C families registered with us, but about 25 to 27 come weekly. So if she's got a smaller amount of crop for a specific, I think it was last week you did cauliflower, I think,
yes.
Right? Cauliflower. We gave the cauliflower to the C families. And we were able to fill those bags because we really want to give our food pantry recipients the same product. Like the A families, it's much easier when you're packing that many bags to be able to put the same product in those A bags.
It's like packing CSA boxes. So
So that's really worked for us. And the communication that Jess and I have, it's just amazing. And that's what it's all about, communication. she needs to know what we're doing, and I need to know what she's doing. So that makes it work.
How many farms are you working with directly that are supporting your work?
Three right now.
And I think that that's an important question, because I guess not all food pantries and food banks have relationships with farms. I think this is, and maybe you can speak to this, your colleagues that are running other food pantries and food banks in East Hampton and on Long Island. I think that this partnership, the ability for us to grow and plan for produce, and then for you to also manage the produce.
Right.
I mean, it's not as easy to manage 10 full bins of head lettuce, for example, as it is a bag of pasta or something. It's perishable, it's nuanced, it's dripping, there's a lot happening with it. But you've prioritized it.
Yes.
And can you talk a little bit about why? I mean, we all know, like, everybody deserves access to fresh, healthy, organic food, and that is why we're doing this. But it does take extra work to work with farms. And why is it important to you to do that?
Well, it's important because that's what our recipients want. We're about 86% Ecuadorian, our recipients are. And we've done surveys, to find out what they want, which sometimes work and sometimes don't. But the number one key is fresh produce. They all want fresh produce. They don't want the canned product. And you can tell because I just, every so often, you might get a free product from a food bank, and it sounds good to us. Oh, a can of corn, so we'll just take that and drop it in the bags. And I've always asked our recipients, if you don't want what's in the bags, bring it back to us. And the corn comes back. So
Well, we
The
have some of
canned
the,
corn.
the canned corn.
we have
yes,
some of the
right.
best fresh corn
Yes, we do.
anywhere
we do.
out here on the East End line.
We do.
Which is
So-
probably why the canned corn comes back.
back.
Noted on that. And then, I guess to the point of, like, yes, of course, like healthy, nutritious, fresh food, and then it's incorporated into cultural cooking. And Jess, I know, has also worked with you on surveys to see, like, well, what do you want to cook? Because we have the ability to grow what you need and what the people you're servicing need and want, so that I think we've had some misses with, like, wow, that was too much bok choy, and nobody really knew how to do anything. So kohlrabi doesn't make the list anymore. That's why we're not trying to force anyone into it. We're back to kohlrabi. We talked a lot about kohlrabi early in the season.
It's just such an opportunity, and so is the bok choy, so underappreciated.
So let's talk about that. Then some of it's education, and some of it's recipe building, and some of it, like, there is some capacity to do that, and we have provided that sort of recipe support, bilingual recipe support in this, and I think that's an important component to it. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, working families need things that, like, they can get across the finish line to feed, get it out on the table. Like, it's hard enough as it is, right?
What are some favorites of recipients?
They like greens.
Yeah.
And I can remember years ago, if I took a piece of kale and put it in front of our recipients, they were like, no, I don't think so. And now they actually ask for it.
That's great.
So, and collards, they like all of the greens. They've learned how to cook them, they like them, and that goes out the door. Broccoli, green beans, cauliflower, they scarf them up. They really enjoy those. And they like a lettuce product.
A salad,
something,
something
more
of a salad.
romaine than anything we've found. They do like that. So that helps, and we make sure that they try to get that every single week in their bags.
I would imagine also tomatoes and potatoes.
Potatoes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Whether they be sweet, russet, whatever, they want potatoes. Onions, and we give them those staples every week. They get potatoes, onions, carrots every week. So that is something that we definitely look at.
So how many potatoes are you distributing?
A lot.
If you were to order them, how many would you order for a week of your distribution?
Probably 600 pounds.
600 pounds of potatoes a week. That's a lot of cooking. You're feeding a lot of people. A lot of people are in need. So, and you flagged, there was a shift in your demand profile at during COVID.
Right.
And what we experienced on the East End was, a lot of people couldn't work unless you were essential services, and that ground the local economy to a halt, right? So as farmers, we were in as essential services and we were able to keep going, but there are a lot of people in the service industry that couldn't work.
And we're largely a service industry out here, which actually is maybe a good segue to talk about we live in one of the wealthiest communities in the country, and do you find that it's a barrier in your messaging to explain to people why your service is so important and that there is in fact a need here that's really effectively hidden by the wealth?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's one of the things that I run across all the time. Is like, you're in the Hamptons. You know, really?
How could you need this?
How do you need that? And why are those people there? You know, it's just something that we have to dispel all the time. And you know, and one of the things that I have to address all the time is the lines of the cars that line up to come to our food pantry. And I get all the time.
Because the type of cars.
They drive better cars than I do. You know, why is that? And you know, it's pretty easy, you know, if you think about it. First of all, don't judge, but you know, beyond that, they work for south of the highway. They're in the service industry, so they might work for some big estate, and the owner of the estate gives them a car, so they can pick up the kids from school, so they can run the errands, you know, things like that. Another thing is they carpool. So you might get 3 families living together, and they buy 1 car.
Yes.
So, you know, that makes the difference as well.
But if you're not tapped in and all you see is the lines of cars outside the food pantry, you think, I don't think this, but you could think, hey, wait a minute, what's the, you know, why is the Hamptons wealthy elite lining up for free food? But it's obviously a tremendously humbling thing to do, to ask for help.
Yes.
So the people who are asking for help are the people who need help.
Right. And they don't want to be there. I mean, they really don't want to be there. I mean, we've had many scenarios where you just look at them and tears in their eyes. I mean, but they come, and once they come, they're okay with it. They'll come. But we have one, the testimonials on our website. She lost her job overnight, and everything changed. And she
Happens quickly.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly the point to make. I think everyone is living on thin margins. There's no safety net, and if something like that happens and you need a bridge or you need assistance, that is
what we're there
like the
for.
superpower, superhuman support network that you're providing. And it's not right. It's not a proud reliance.
No.
It's but what I always appreciate is that you and your team, you provide a space for folks that is filled with love and dignity. Like, you walk in and your team is proud to help, but there is a space that you hold that's it's so admirable, because it's something that your service that you're providing is essential, and the folks that are there, I think the gratitude that they have for what you do is so deep, and I think from our farmer perspective, the gratitude we have for what you do is so deep. There is something that happens there where families, like, I guess, like tears in their eyes, but relief, I think, is really a point to be made. And you sent Jess a message yesterday that you are expecting even greater demand. We're coming into the holiday season. It's Thanksgiving and then the holidays, and then hyper locally, our economy goes to sleep. In a lot of ways during the winter months.
Because we're in a vacation community. And so people who rely on cleaning houses, doing landscaping, doing a lot of service-related work, their work dries up.
Goes on pause, or there's a changeover. So the combination of the SNAP benefits being hopefully not cut forever, but are certainly paused for the month of November, coming into a time where people want to provide abundance for their family and celebrate and joy. And this is a real struggle compounded with the economic challenges that they're going to face seasonally. And can you talk a little bit about the demand that you're anticipating and what people can do who are listening? What do you need?
Yeah, we expect our demand is going to go up at least 20% through the winter months.
Is that typical?
15 to 20. And that's I'm going to go with the 50% SNAP benefit that's going to supposedly come through. So we're going to also see an impact on that. We don't know in Springs how many of our recipients or people in Springs are on SNAP.
Right.
We can't get those figures.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's broken down into legislative districts, I understand, which is the North Fork and the South Fork. So we honestly don't know. I do know that CUNY did a study a couple of years ago on food insecurity on the East End, and there were 292 families below the poverty level in Springs that could qualify for SNAP, that could be on SNAP. And if that's the case, those people are going to have to turn to us as well. And basically, what the Springs Food Pantry needs is money. I mean, it comes right down to money. When you're packing that many bags every week, to be able to buy product, to supplement product, farm product, by purchasing it in bulk, makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
So what's always interesting to me is we're kind of involved in this like netherworld economy of the way of how goods and services move around between volunteers and what you're spending your budget dollars on and what's donated and how you cobble it together. So will you talk a little bit about how, what your annual budget is or what your spend is per week, and then how, is farm food coming in that's donated? Who are you buying from? How are things getting donated? How do you deal with your kind of household budget? And by household, I mean like pantry hold budget of feeding all your families.
Right now, it's costing us about $23,000 a week to feed these families, and that includes about 90% goes to food product itself, and the rest is rent, utilities, etc. We're totally volunteer run, so there's no hidden salary costs or things like that. One of the things that we find is we're continually budgeting. We have to adjust that budget as we go along because food product costs go up.
Right.
Our numbers go up every week. Our numbers change. One of the things that I feel with the whole SNAP reduction and our increase alone, I ran some numbers the other day. We're going to be upwards of probably $29,000 a week before we're out. Our budget right now is $1.3 million a year, and by having money, that, as I said, that gives us the allowance to be able to go out and buy product wholesale. Food drives don't work for us. Food drives don't work because when you hear, when Susie's sent home from school because, the Springs Food Pantry needs food and we had to bring in a can of, green beans or whatever. Our recipients don't like canned product, as I mentioned earlier, and that just doesn't equate to what they need or want. It just doesn't happen.
So is it more effective if people want to help, and people are pretty motivated right now because I think that they're, they have tremendous empathy for their neighbors who are in need. Is making, if what your family could pull together is a $50 donation, is that more meaningful than?
Absolutely.
Okay, than 10 cans of
Absolutely.
green beans? I mean, not that 10 cans of green beans cost $50, but does $50 matter?
Almost.
Does that count to you?
Absolutely. Yeah. It doesn't make any difference how big, how small.
Okay.
It really makes no difference. We're trying to get more recurring donations, so it's on a monthly basis, because then we can kind of bank on that. We can count on that money being there every month, so that we know that we have it.
And I mean, with a budget that you just described, I think I read in the paper that the East Hampton Town, provided an emergency grant, but of 10,000, which is about a third of what your budget's about to be for one week.
1 week.
Right. So helpful certainly.
Yeah.
But we need a lot more of those to do the
Absolutely.
work.
Absolutely.
What I was saying before about this kind of netherworld of the economy is that it feels like there's a closed loop, or that the system is closed. So if SNAP benefits are removed, meaning people have fewer assistance dollars to be spending at grocery stores, they are going to be leaning harder on food pantries. But your budget didn't go up, and so you now have to feed more people on the same budget. And so who are you looking to? Well, the people who then are donating to you. And so it just really moves the pressure of funding through the pipeline. So it seems to me like pantries are looking harder at farms around them of, can you do more, and looking harder at donors. So it's really shifting this government responsibility. It doesn't remove it; it just moves it.
That's all it does, is
moves it down the line, which is it just is a closed loop. I don't know what else to say about it.
It is.
Or people go hungry, or there's not enough, and people go hungry.
And I worry about the kids.
Right.
Spring School doesn't have a cafeteria.
Which is true for many schools out here.
It is.
For many
It is.
elementary schools out here.
So there's no federally funded breakfast or lunch programs.
Mm-hmm.
So we worry about that.
And we hear so often how children who take advantage of or are recipients of federally funded breakfast and lunch programs, that those might be the only meals that they're getting.
Yes,
but in a school that doesn't have that at all, I mean, it's shifting so much of that onus, onto families who are strapped.
One of the ways that we have kind of evolved our farm to food pantry program model, where it's fresh produce out of the field to Holly's Food Pantry and others, is we asked both our internal team, farmers and kitchen staff, and pantries around us, would it be a good idea to deliver a ready-made meal? And that took form in a quart of soup. And so we, for the last 18 months, have worked diligently to launch a soup program so that we can provide pantries not only fresh produce, but also a vegetable-forward, ready-made meal. Jess, can you talk a little bit about our soup program?
Sure.
And why it's important, and that we are currently fundraising for it so we can deliver it to Holly.
We are currently fundraising for it, and we're currently producing it right now. I was just thinking, as we're sitting here right now, we have a team harvesting romaine lettuce for you for tomorrow, and we have a team in the kitchen processing sweet potatoes and butternut squash for you for next week. So our soup program will be kicking off next week. We'll be bringing 400 quarts of soup to Holly, and it is going to be using primarily butternut squash, sweet potatoes, and kale from our fields. What we're really excited about is that it is going to be bringing some vegetables to folks who might not be familiar with how to prepare them. We know that sweet potatoes are very, very popular at the food pantries, but butternut squash is often less familiar to people, but it is something we grow a lot of, and are able to store it for a long period of time at the farm. So for us, it makes a good donatable item, and so we're finding a form that we can send it to you that is going to help folks.
No,
go ahead.
I was just saying, just to expand on that, as farmers, we're growing in an agricultural zone where we can't grow food all year, and in fact, that the part of the year that we can grow food is the part of the year where you have the least demand. And so, how do we overlay the food supply that we have into your biggest demand region? Which is why, if there's a listener who's thinking, well, why do you grow so much butternut if people don't want it as much? But there are so few things that we can grow on the farm that are truly shelf stable for months and months, that provide nutritious, nutrient-dense calories, and so that's why we lean on those crops. And also for us, as a really hands-on, small-scale vegetable farmer, we have about 30 acres of vegetables. We love winter squash because it's kind of, we put it in the ground, weed it a couple of times, and then it just goes and grows. We don't have to tend to it every day. So the romaine lettuce that we're harvesting right now, we planted lettuce 25 times this season. We've constantly planting it and harvesting it and washing it. It's tremendously labor intensive, whereas winter squash and sweet potatoes, we plant them a single time, we harvest en masse, and then we can store them. So
Right, and the lettuce, this will be one of our last weeks of lettuce of the season.
Yeah.
But the squash that took a lot less time and labor for us to produce will last us until April.
Right.
So that's another.
In soup form and
in soup form, in its regular form. The sweet potatoes, if we can keep the temperature good, will last us even longer. So we love these winter storage crops and finding a way that we can bring them to you in a way that is accessible for people and makes it easy for them. Just that, you know, as a working mom, to have something that I could bring home to my family and just heat up and feed to them it just relieves a lot of pressure.
It does.
To not have to think about, okay, how am I going to cook this thing I've never seen before? I don't know I don't even know how to Google a recipe for this.
Because I don't even know what it is.
Because I don't even know what it
Yeah.
is. You know, as much as we would love to donate all of these beautiful winter squash that we grow, we don't want to send something to folks that is just going to be difficult for them to figure out.
Right.
I think, and when we're talking about the planning and the planting and the harvesting and the storage, there are so many logistics that go on behind the scenes to make this run of show happen, from figuring out how to, your A, B, and C families and how to wrap the line and which volunteers you need to have stationed where and what your weekly budget is. And then on our end, it's, how many food pantry recipients can we anticipate a week that want romaine, but plus we make Caesar wraps in our market, and what about our own CSA? So there's those logistics. And then for storage crops, it's so great to grow 40 to 60,000 pounds of winter squash and sweet potatoes. Okay, where will we put them? They can't just live outside, and so which is why we bought a couple of 18-wheelers, insulated 18-wheelers to keep them at temperature consistent. A consistent temperature for storage so that we can actually have them through the winter. So all of these little pieces at play that go into making what looks like just a line of cars happen. I mean, like hundreds of people and effort and, millions of dollars pours into this. And I think all across the country, and certainly here on the East End, we see people coming together to do that work. It's because of people like Holly and Jess who care a lot. Why do you care?
Passion. I mean, it is my passion to. I don't think anybody in this country should go hungry. I don't think anybody anywhere should go hungry.
Yeah, it feels like a pretty apolitical, basic thing to say.
I look around and I just see what's happening, and as I said, my heart goes to those kids that maybe the only thing they get that day is the apple that they walk out the door with. I just can't even imagine that, and it does happen.
How could you perform in your life, perform in school, do anything to be
you can't
to be a productive member of society if you're not sure when and what you're going to eat again?
Right.
If removing that strain from our kids especially is feels critical. Why do you care, Jess?
I think for me, being a parent and the thought of not being able to feed my children is something I can't even fathom someone near me having to go through. And I don't want anyone in my community to be having to go through that.
Tremendous stress.
It's a tremendous amount of stress. And a lot of these people are, as we've been talking about, they're working. It's not that they're not working. They're working and then trying to figure out.
And maybe even working a job and another job and potentially even a third job.
Yeah.
This is not...
and then getting home and having to think about how physically to feed their kids.
Right.
It's heartbreaking to me that could be a reality.
It is. I recently did a presentation to East Hampton Town, and we put together a model of a typical family in Springs, because people say, why? And we were very liberal, I thought, with our salaries. We took a mom and dad, 2 kids, and we put them at like 100. We used ZipRecruiter, Indeed, to back up all of our our numbers, and we put them at like $120,000 a year, Mom and Dad, which sounds like a pretty decent,
It sounds like a lot of money.
a lot of money. But when you add up the rent,
Of what it costs to live here and what it costs to put gas in your car. And yeah.
absolutely everything, they came up about $800 short a month. And it's not that the Springs Food Pantry is going to take that away and absolve that, but we can help bridge the gap.
Yes.
You know, so by getting the fresh produce and things like that, and making sure these families get that, they can survive. And that's our whole goal.
And Holly, I think that's so important to point to the numbers in this. I mean, when you hear that there's a family that's bringing in $120,000 of income to support their family, and that's not enough, and there's an $800 shortfall every month.
Every month.
That's major stress in the system.
Right.
And I think, you know, Amanda's just back from the policy summit in Washington, but really like grassroots, feed your neighbors, make sure that you can shore up your local community is something that you both have prioritized and take pride in. It's something that we at Amber Waves, it is one of our 4-pillar programs. It is incredibly important to us that we make sure that our neighbors have access to fresh foods and making sure that everybody can feed their families.
Right.
What do you all think is, beyond donating money and you all organize volunteers, is there anything else that you want to point to? This is a really like coalescing time and critical time, it feels like, where there's so much stress in the system. Is there any last words that you all want to impart on our listeners of why it matters right now the most, really, to step up? I mean, this is happening in our community, but this is happening in every single community around the nation right now. Why does it matter to you, Jess, to really ask folks to step up right now?
So I was thinking further about Amanda's question about why I do this, and you know, the idea of families going hungry is one big part of it, but also my own pride in the work that I do to produce this food. Every day I'm working so hard to grow this food, and to think that it could be rotting in a cooler just because it's not getting somewhere, that we have too much, that we over harvested, something in the system didn't go right. So, to other farmers, I would say this is your work, this is the pride in what you do. Make sure it gets to someone who needs it before it rots in your cooler.
And we're appreciative of that. We really are.
There's somebody in your community who needs it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Holly, how about you? Last
It's-
megaphone call to action, like, let's do this, folks.
Yeah, it's the pride as well. It's a never-ending job. Even though everybody's a volunteer, there's a sense of accomplishment at the end that, we start on a Thursday morning when we run the reports to see how many we fed the night before, and did we run out of produce? Do we have enough produce? What do we need to order? How can we supplement? Jess is going to call. Let's find out what she's got, this week for us. And then you put that all together, and then we start doing our ordering on Friday and Saturday, and Sunday we get our volunteers together, and then Monday we start staging food. Tuesday we pack. Wednesday we bring in the produce and we distribute.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday night comes along at 7:30, 7:45, and it's like, wow, we did it again, and our numbers went up X amount, and we fed these people, and it is just that sense of accomplishment that we can do. And they all walked out with smiles on their face and just appreciative of what we can do for them. And, we're there for them no matter what. And if they need extra food, and that happens,
Right.
call us. They have my cell phone number. They just call.
Yeah, I think that's you are making yourself like front and center as a leader, so personally available. And I think that is a testament to the connection that you have. This is a human thing. This is not.
Right.
These are not. And there are numbers, but the people helping people. That is, and you are really wholeheartedly present with them.
Yes, we try to be.
To make it happen. Well, I encourage anybody and everybody listening, if, there is abundance around us, both in terms of food and money, and if we can help those around us who don't have as much as you do and who need bridges and who need assistance, I'll reiterate what Holly said. Making a donation to the Springs Food Pantry is critically important immediately, based on what you just said is happening week to week. And Amber Waves is looking for financial support for the Farm to Food Pantry program, so that we are in planning season right now and budgeting season, so that we can order the right amount of seeds, knowing what your demand profile looks like over the next 6 months, so we can order, plan, plant accordingly. So I think
to donate, right? Because that's so we take, as a donor of food, we take on that responsibility of, we'll figure out how to pay for the food that we're going to bring to you. And so that's our piece that we take on, just like the other farms that are donating produce to you. So that we just take that on ourselves. So, so as a donor, thinking about, farms that are growing food, thinking about food pantries that have distribution networks and are doing this tremendously important work of amalgamating all of everything and handing out.
And I think the important part, like you said, Holly, is it's $5, it's $50, it's $50,000. All of it matters.
All of it matters.
So more of the 50,000s, please.
Yes, please.
Holly, thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for your work. We are so grateful. Jess, you are amazing, rock star farmer, food pantry coordinator. We love you. Thank you so much, and we're so grateful that you all have such a fun working relationship together to really bring the magic and sparkle for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.